An AFC battle, the Browns in Baltimore. It is NFL Week 7. Welcome into WagerTalk TV. Alongside Tony Mejia and Andy Lang, I'm Megan Payton. The Ravens, 6.5-point favorites. Browns-Ravens kickoff at 1 p.m. Eastern. 45.5 is the total. I've been very disappointed in both of these teams, I must say. The Browns, as we know, are leading the league in rushing yards. But what happens when you can destroy Nick Chubb, when you can take him out of the game? The Browns put up 15 points against the Patriots and lost. Now, on the flip side, Lamar Jackson had one of his worst performances last week against the Giants. I'm just not feeling hopeful for either of these AFC North teams. Tony, I'll come to you first. What do you expect to happen this week in Baltimore?
Well, Megan, you're absolutely right to be disappointed in these teams. I call the Browns wasteful because you have a two-pronged rushing attack in Chubb and Hunt that you can rely upon to hammer teams with in a manner that few teams have that luxury, to lean on. And then your quarterback isn't turning the ball over. He's turned David Njoku into a really nice weapon, nice chemistry with Amari Cooper right out of the gate. And yet you're still losing games to teams you shouldn't lose to and wasting opportunities. And then you've got the Baltimore Ravens, who are kings of being wasteful this season. I saw the stat. They've held a double-digit lead in every game this season, and they're the first team in NFL history to not have a winning record through 6 weeks, despite having done that. So, that goes without saying that they've squandered opportunities. That secondary's been awful, which by their standards is pretty strange. They've had some injuries, but Marcus Peters has gotten beat a ton. So these are two teams that really need a win. It's going to be your typical AFC North battle between teams that don't like each other, potentially rainy in Baltimore. I saw Mark Andrews didn't practice on Wednesday, but the fact is he'll play. A lot of those guys rested a lot of the offensive linemen. So I think Baltimore is in better shape from a health standpoint than the Cleveland Browns are. It already looks like Wyatt Teller, a key offensive lineman for Cleveland, will not play. So they're going to ride with a backup there up front. J.K. Dobbins for the Ravens still dealing with a knee issue, but Kenyon Drake played great on Sunday, and I think he's somebody you should have on your fantasy team, on your daily DFS lineup. Rashad Bateman, who was really good in establishing a deep threat with Lamar Jackson earlier in the season before spraining his foot, is expected to return. And then a Cleveland touch-and-go situation with Myles Garrett expected to play despite re-injuring his left shoulder on Sunday. Jadeveon Clowney and Denzel Ward, both key members of that defense, are looking like game-time decisions. So from that standpoint, I really like Baltimore at home. They've owned the Browns in this series. Lamar Jackson threw 4 picks last year, and they still won in Week 12. And then the only reason that the Browns won in Week 14 was Lamar spraining his ankle early in that game, and Huntley actually played well enough to lead a comeback. They ran out of time. So the year before that, it was a sweep for the Ravens. I just think the Ravens still have their number. I'm in the territory of not trusting Kevin Stefanski much anymore. So we'll see if there's a change coming there. But I'll stick with the Browns here, with the Ravens here, I should say.
Running back Kenyon Drake, 119 rushing yards last week against the Giants. I might be looking at the over for his player prop in rushing yards this week. Andy, give us some player props. What do you have for us?
Well, we're recording this on Wednesday, so no player props are out, but we can do a really good job getting ready for it. And you and I are on the same page. I'm looking at rushing totals. You mentioned Kenyon Drake. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. It's a little bit chalky and a little bit squarish, but I can't see any reason why he would go under. He's rushed for over 70 yards in 4 out of the last 5 games. He has a rush of 18 yards or more in 5 games in a row. So right there, you could take his longest rush. And I think if the books put out this rushing total at 72.5 or lower, I'm going to be looking at the over. J.K. Dobbins, not 100% healthy. We have no idea what to get from them. And listen, it's still Kenyon Drake. But this is not the most electric running back in the NFL. Lamar Jackson might be. So I don't know if I can put all my eggs in the Kenyon Drake basket. And opposing teams have just decimated the Browns on the run game. Last 3 games, the Browns have allowed combined over 500 yards Two teams have rushed for over 200 yards against this team. They are giving up massive chunks of yards. And as mentioned, weather could be a little bit iffy. This sets up for a really big Lamar Jackson game. Don't be surprised if he gets into the 90 or 100 yards rushing. So I would take this 72.5, maybe up to 73, 74.5, but look for a big game on the ground for Lamar Jackson.
Browns are also bottom 5 in points allowed per game. So I do like the over there a little bit. Great stuff as always from Tony and Andy. More from them on wagertalk.com. Of course, go give them a follow over on Twitter. For Andy, that is at Bump Sports, and Tony at Mejia Dinero. I appreciate you guys every week giving us all of the insights. And make sure you guys have downloaded the WagerTalk TV app if you have not already.